Hey guys, my name is Batumio, and today's challenge, I'm going to be using the M320 smoke grenade to slay my enemies in Battlefield 4. Last time, I used the SRR-61 bolt-action rifle with the 40 times scope, and while that was a lot of fun and it was difficult, it was nowhere near as challenging as trying to hit people with the smoke grenade. Like, I did this challenge back in Battlefield 3, and I don't know if I'm just awful at this point. I don't know if things have changed significantly, but this at some points was just a nightmare trying to get good gameplay for this, or even just to go on a 2 or 3 kill streak. It was that challenging. And so the first thing that I kind of had to overcome is that the smoke grenade only does 100 damage. And you may think to yourself, oh, well, that's fantastic. That's going to kill anyone at all ranges. Like, isn't that a good thing? That's a one-shot kill. I would agree with you, but you also have to remember that if you hit the enemy within the legs or the stomach, you don't get the 1 times damage multiplier, and so you will get hit markers if you hit them in those regions. And I can't tell you how infuriating it is where you get like maybe 1 or 2 kills and then you go for that last shot on the enemy and you get a hit marker. Then they turn around, because you have to go through the long animation, which we'll get to here in a second, they just turn around and blow your brains out. And getting a hit marker with a gadget or a weapon like this is just a nightmare. Another thing I had to overcome is that whenever you shoot a projectile out of the M320, it doesn't travel very quickly. Its trajectory speed is quite slow, and so whenever I try to take out a target that was 20 meters out, 30 meters out, or even right in front of me, I kind of had to predict where the enemy was going to be heading. And so a moving target, especially if they're a moving target at a distance, was not impossible to land those shots, but it was not an easy task. I was able to do it every once in a while. When I was able to predict the movement, I was able to line up the shot knowing where the trajectory was going to land, and when everything kind of aligned and I finally got the kill, it was extremely satisfying. It honestly just didn't happen very often. And so the way I kind of approached this challenge was I played it and used it more like a shotgun. I knew that I needed to use the terrain to my advantage to kind of close the gap and get up close and personal, and when I did that, that's when I started to have more success. But even still, even when I was up close and personal, it wasn't like a cakewalk by any means. You still kind of have to predict where the enemy was going to be heading, and if they weren't standing still, it still wasn't an easy task taking them out. Another thing that was kind of making this challenging is that you only get 4 smoke grenades with your M320. Even if you're using the Grenadier field upgrade path, you only start out with 4. Like, it takes, I think, the 3rd tier of that path to unlock the M320 version of it. And so for the most part, when I was trying to go on these kill streaks, I had to make do with only 4 grenades. And there were some times when I was able to kill 3 or 4 people all in a row. And when I was able to pull that off, I felt like a badass. But there were a lot of times when I was missing shots. And so I would get like 1 or 2, and then I have to go run around looking for a support player. And what was so infuriating about this at moments, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this as well, is that every single time I seemed to finally find a support guy, they would just refuse to drop ammo. I would say, you know, politely, I need ammo. I would sometimes shoot a couple of pistol shots into their head, and then they would kind of look at you funny. They would look in your general direction, be like, why did you shoot at me? And then just run away. And it could be that they just didn't have ammo. It could be that they are running a different kit setup and they just do not have ammo as one of their gadgets, and that's completely possible. But when you have like 4 support players in a room and none of them are dropping ammo, and you just need that sweet, sweet ammo to get more M320 grenades, it was a little bit infuriating. And so if you are playing as a support, you like to play as a support, just make sure that every once in a while you are dropping some ammo for your teammates. They will love you. Another thing I kind of noticed, and this didn't have any impact on my gameplay or getting kills by any means, but every single time I would like miss a shot, or just when the smoke was activated, it was just like a fine mist was in the air. It didn't really block line of sight at all. I mean, there was like just like a very small puff of smoke out of this thing. And I don't know why DICE decided or thought this was a good idea, because currently right now, it doesn't seem like there's any real reason to use the M320 smoke in any combat or tactical situation, because the smoke screen is so insignificant that the only map I can see this even being remotely viable on is something like Operation Locker, where you could maybe lock down or obscure the vision of one of the hallways. But anything larger than that, the puff of smoke is so insignificant that it's just useless at that point. And I understand that DICE has made some changes. They've made it so that you can't spot through the smoke screen, which is awesome because that was one of my largest complaints about the system back in Battlefield 3, is that you could have this massive smoke screen on your, on the field, but the enemy could spot you through it, and then they just kind of shoot at the red triangle above your head and get an easy free kill at that point. So I like that they made that change, but why did they have to make the M320 version of it just this mist in the air that has no tactical significance to it? So a little disappointing in that front. I'm kind of hoping that DICE maybe makes some slight changes here and there. The grenade version of it, I think, is fine. It makes a nice screen for you and your team, but for whatever reason, the M320 version of it is just pitiful. Like, it truly is pathetic. So overall, this was a difficult challenge. There were a lot of obstacles that I had to overcome. I didn't even mention the fact that the M320 has a very slow reload speed, which is just another thing kind of compounded on top of everything else. But when there were those moments when I was able to get back-to-back kills, or especially the long ball shots, it was fun. It was satisfying. That didn't happen very often, and for the most part, I would say that this is a very infuriating setup. But if you are someone who wants a challenge, you kind of just want to do something fun, then I would recommend running around as the M320 smoke grenade. But yeah, guys, that is it for today's terrible weapon challenge. I hope you enjoyed. If you have a setup that you would like me to try next, let me know down below in the comment section. It can be, a weapon with a terrible combination of attachments. It can be a certain gadget. Just, let me know down below, and also make sure to thumbs up the ones you would also like me to try. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one, and take it easy.